You wanted the best. Wait, damn it. What is it? You asked for the best. You wanted the best. You asked for the best. Well, now we're going to give you the best. The greatest band in the world. Kiss. Kiss. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to tonight's Sunday wind down show. It's Sunday wind down show here at the Frumess channel. Welcome. My original intentions for this show were not to be entirely Kiss centric. It was more going to be a compare and contrast show, and I decided that instead that I needed to make it more about Kiss. We're still going to discuss the initial prompt that I put out onto social media a few days back. But I think more importantly, I want to talk about Kiss because I don't know, in the past day, watching some of the footage, I have had an immense change of heart about Kiss, or at least about the end, this ending of Kiss and MSG and all this stuff, right? How you doing, Ravner? Welcome to tonight's show. But before we get there, let's just quickly review Kiss for a minute, or at least Kiss as I'm going to review. I'm going to review Kiss as it relates to me, or qualify where I stand with Kiss personally. We've done a little bit about Kiss on the channel, not too much. So the thing about Kiss is I don't dislike Kiss. I can't consider myself, I'm not a Kiss fan per se. Like I'm not a fan of Kiss, or I'm a casual fan of Kiss. I like a handful of Kiss songs a lot. And I will say that Detroit Rock City is one of my favorite films of all time. And for years I used to lament that Detroit Rock City was a Kiss movie. I wish it was kind of like about the Ramones. And I was like, it's about Kiss. Like, that's kind of lame. But, that's when I also realized that Love Gun is like an incredible song. The opening credits of Detroit Rock City. Kevin's in the audience. How you doing, Kevin? Kevin says, I saw the final Kiss tour a few years ago before the pandemic. Right, because it started back before before everything. It started in 2019, right? They were supposed to finish in 2020 or 2021, and that sort of extended things. And I'm kind of glad because this is kind of apropos. Well, it's sort of apropos. It's bittersweet. I will tell you, it's kind of bittersweet. It's a mixed bag because of what Kiss ended up doing, which is a very Kiss thing to do. But I'm getting ahead of the apple cart here for a minute. Let me just, again, I want to qualify where I stand with Kiss. So I think Kiss is incredibly cheesy. I really can't get into most of their music. There is some Kiss stuff that I really enjoy. I've talked before here. I love the song Black Diamond. I think it's an incredible song. Love Gun, I think, is an incredible song. I love Detroit Rock City. I love Rock and Roll All Night. There are some songs that I think are goofy but fun, like Shout It Out Loud, Dr. Love, Lick It Up is just super goofy and super fun. So they kind of they really straddle that line for me. I could never, you know what it is? I can enjoy Kiss, but I could never take Kiss seriously. I could never take Kiss seriously in the way that I take the Misfits or even Glenn Danzig seriously. And even still with cranky Uncle Glenn, I mean, I take Danzig seriously, but I also think the fact that Glenn Danzig takes himself seriously is also what makes him so wonderfully goofy in a variety of ways. So it's like that's like a mixed bag. But for Kiss, it's so incredibly goofy to me or it's so incredibly campy and funny and whatever. It's fun, but it's it's not something I can take seriously. I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. But I will say that movie, Detroit Rock City, is a masterpiece. It is a coming of age classic. And it's not something I talk about a lot in here, but yeah, like ever since that movie came out, like I've always been a diehard fan of that film. And so I guess you could say that I grew to appreciate Kiss through watching that movie and loving that movie. You know, again, I think it would be kind of cooler if that movie was about like the Ramones, but like whatever, you know, it's about Kiss. It makes sense that it would be about Kiss. If that was the movie takes place in 1970 at the height of Kiss's fan, of course it's going to be about Kiss. It couldn't be about any other band. Jody Ramone is here. How you doing, Jody? Kevin says Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park is a very serious film. That's true. I've never actually seen that. I think maybe we're gonna have to do a watch along of Kiss Meets the Phantom. Black Phillip says I'm a massive fan of Paul Stanley's egregious flamboyant behavior. Me too. Absolutely. That is delightful to me. Okay, truly delightful. So, like I said, handful of Kiss songs. I appreciate the concept. You know, somebody in the comments of one of the posts that I put up said, you know, Kiss, you know, what Gene Simmons said about Kiss is crystal clear. Like we're not music, we're entertainment. And that, I think that's crystallized in my realization in the last 24 hours as to how I should feel about their final show and all this stuff and whatever. You know what I mean? Yes. And that's another thing. Paul Stanley in The Decline of Western Civilization 2 is a chef's kiss. It's amazing. It's so wonderful to see Paul Stanley surrounded by beautiful women lying on a bed talking to the camera. Okay, apparently, according to Ravner, there is a riff tracks for Kiss Meets Phantom of the Park. Oh no, that would be awesome to get a hold of. Wait, if riff tracks, yeah. Well, we could do our own riff tracks. Okay, I didn't understand that question. All right, so that's number one. That's part one of this. Now, I knew that the end of the road was coming. I knew that they were finishing up at Madison Square Garden, and I knew that they're finishing up in the year 2023 instead of the year 2020 or whatever, which again, to go back to what I was saying about being apropos, that's perfect, man. 50 years. How could you be a band for almost 50 years and finish in 2021? It's not like the reason why they're finishing up is because they're old. They're incredibly old. They're in their 70s, wearing heavy gear, still doing this. They can't sing. They need to rely on, oh shit. Oh my God. Fucking hell. I just spilled fucking seltzer all over my keyboard. Shit. Well, that fucking sucks. All right. Well, that's why I keep the computer on a riser. Damn. You know what I did? You know what the mistake was? I put two seltzers out. I always keep one seltzer over here, but because I have all this stuff on my desk, I put two seltzers. I moved the second seltzer, was moved in the middle, and then my hand knocked it. That's what happened. How about that? Well, hopefully this keyboard's okay. Oh, shit. I don't know what I just did. I just did something. Oh, I just took it off of dark mode. Oh, crap. Motherfucker. Let's just unplug it. How about that? There we go. Okay. Now we're back to normal, I guess. Okay. Still got mouse action. I just can't do any typing. Though I don't like seeing this bright screen. All right. Enough. Back to the thing. So 2023. It's like if you're a band for almost 50 years, it would be so lame. I think it would be lame for you to stop at like 49 years or 40. Like, come on, just push it to 50. They weren't, like I said, that's what I was saying, that they weren't quitting because there was some inevitability of somebody's like ailing sickness where like we have to stop because so and so. There was no tragic thing. They were deciding to hang it up, which is, again, all things considered, admirable. Even if maybe they're hanging it up a little bit too late. Maybe they should have hung it up 20 years ago. They almost hung it up 20 years ago because they almost did a farewell tour 20 something years ago, and then they decided, that era of Kiss. We were saying what Paul Stanley said was Actually, we're saying goodbye to that era of Kiss. So that era of Kiss is closed, and now we've started a new era. So we're actually, this is a fair, so to be accurate, to be entirely accurate, how about this? Hot take for you right now. Hot take for you right now. The farewell tour that featured the original lineup with Peter Criss and Ace Frehley, those were indeed the final Kiss shows. Though that was a farewell to the band Kiss. Then they started a new era, and what we just saw was the farewell of the new era band Kiss. So technically, the two farewell tours can coexist in that kind of way. We both know that's not the case. We both know that's kind of a bullshit cop-out thing to say. But if you want to get like really semantical about it, you could say that. So that's what we'll say. Whatever. So yeah, 2023, it's like, yeah, it makes sense. It's like you started in 73, finish in 2023. What's a couple more years? What's a couple more millions of dollars, to just finish up when it's time to finish up, right? So I thought that made sense. I didn't know, like I said, I found out like a day ago. I was like, oh, tonight's the final night. It's at Madison Square Garden. I'm a New Yorker. I'm literally a stone skip away from going to Madison Square Garden. And I thought in my head, I made a comment online and someone was like, yeah, actually tickets on StubHub were $40. And I said, shit, for $40 to go to Madison Square Garden and see the final Kiss show, not even for the music, just for the spectacle of it all. Like, I should get 2 tickets and take my little son. My son is 8 years old. He's never been to a concert. And I was thinking in my head, this is the perfect first concert for my son. And then suddenly I had a fire lit under my ass. I was trying to get like really cheap tickets. Because here's the thing, and this is the honest truth, when we talk about economics here, I could have justified 2 tickets if it was $100 or less at the last possible moment to go see the show. Because I just knew I wouldn't even, not even for me, I just know my son would have loved it. I really did. But I don't love Kiss enough to spend $180 a piece on nosebleed seats for a band who I never showed up for live. Like, I just wasn't prepared to do that. I wasn't. We always find a way to justify or rationalize why we do as much as we want to do stuff, as much as we don't want to do stuff. Like, it's very easy to justify and rationalize, hey, I'm not going to do this because it's just not my thing. Like, I'm not going to go through with this. So I was refreshing. I was looking for some Kiss tickets. It did not pan out, and that was okay. I literally have not lost a wink of sleep about it. But I did think, if I do go, maybe I can make a cool video out of this for the YouTube channel. Can walk around, tape some interesting goings-ons of like, people in Kiss makeup and, maybe interview them or just whatever, like just document the experience of going to a Kiss show as someone who is such a casual listener of a select few Kiss songs would be very interesting, especially if it was with my son. But that was not meant to be. It was not in the cards. And, one of the reasons why I've never really cared much for ever seeing Kiss, let alone seeing Kiss now in their current state, is because of all the controversy that has come out recently. Kiss is one of those bands that does not play some of their stuff is not played live. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what is or isn't. We all know that they have pre-recorded tracks. And the thing is, a lot of bands use pre-recorded tracks on a spectrum, right? There are some bands that just use small little like triggers. There are other bands that were like everything is pre-taped, like almost everything is pre-taped, right? It all depends on the situation. Sometimes there's pre-taped stuff because it's like, hey, this is really hard to replicate live, or we can't have any margin for error. It's better to have a pre-taped track. We want to present our sound the way it sounds on the album. This is the best way to do such a thing. And then there are others who are like literally, charging fans for, live show. They're charging their fans for a live show, but they're not actually playing live. It's sort of like a mime performance. And then again, you can kind of diffuse that. You can actually diffuse that whole situation by referring back to that quote, that quote I was just mentioning where it's like, "Hey, Kiss is not music, it's entertainment." And I guess on that level, you can pretty much, get away with anything. You can sort of get away with anything. So, like I said, that's a reason why I never really was interested to go and see Kiss. I was just like, kind of like, whatever. I mean, I guess, I don't know. It just was not a thing. The only reason why I thought about it was again the opportunity kind of presented itself, and then so my point being with all this, I'm sorry, I'm like really not doing a great job of explaining myself here. The point being with all of this is that I thought this was incredibly friggin' lame. I just thought it was like lame. I thought it was kind of stupid. I was like, oh, you're hanging it up, but it's kind of like, disingenuous, this, that, and the other. And whatever. Now, on the completely opposite flip side of that, I've just, sort of done a lot of I've sort of expressed a lot of disparaging remarks about Kiss, and I'm gonna do something on the flip side that I really appreciate about Kiss, something that really means a lot to me. And some of you here know how much of a Jew I am and how proud I am of being Jewish and Jewish this and Jewish that. And the truth of the matter is that Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons are Jews. And like to me, I think it's really fucking cool to have these two Jewish guys who worked really, really fucking hard and grinded really, really hard and like put themselves out there and have their posters like across America, the posters of these two Jewish musicians hanging up on people's walls. That makes me happy. I like that. I like that kind of representation. I think Gene Simmons is an asshole, but I also have a lot of respect for Gene Simmons' story. Gene Simmons he's from Israel. He's from Haifa, and he immigrated to America. His mother was a Holocaust survivor. And he immigrated to America from when he was 8 years old. He couldn't speak any English. And, his story kind of is similar to Arnold Schwarzenegger's story. These two guys who didn't speak English came to America, not your sort of traditional kind of movie star or rock star, and they transform themselves into incredibly successful people. They're kind of like they're these incredible immigrant stories, and I just there's something that's the way that Gene Simmons talks about America, and again, this is going to sound really stupid. I have a lot of feelings about America. I'm not going to get political here. I have a lot of hangups about America, but hearing Gene Simmons' point of view about America as an immigrant and where he came from and how he saw, opportunity in America and going from a person who had nothing to a person who has everything is incredible. And it's an incredible story. And I have a lot of respect for that. With all that said, Gene Simmons is a massive asshole who's done a lot of really like fucked up problematic shit that, whatever. But the point being is that I really appreciate it. And Paul Stanley is a dude, another Jewish guy who was born without his ear. Okay. He's born without an ear. He's a musician who doesn't have an ear. And he wears his long hair to cover the fact that he's missing a fucking ear. Well, I think he had a surgery. He had like a fake ear, but he still hid it because he was incredibly self-conscious about his ear. And like to overcome those fears and insecurities and put yourself out there on a stage every night and grind and grind and grind. And then like, go and decide, hey, I want to sing in the opera. I want to, be the Phantom and Phantom of the Opera. So like go and do that. Like I don't know. I have, as ruthless as those guys are in business, and they can be, like, I have a lot of respect for them. I do. So it's like I have like a weird mixed bag with those guys, and like, you know, my feelings about those guys. Like on one hand, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Like that's awesome. And on the other hand, I'm kind of like, you guys are also assholes. You know, the way that they both treated the way that well, you know, that's the other thing too. Like, what's the big rift in Kiss, right? You have the big beef between Ace Frehley, Peter Criss versus Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons and all of that, and the back and forth, and you know, there's two sides to the story, and you know, I probably won't even be able to do that beef justice. We could really sit down and try and cover that in an episode, and you'll have both sides and both camps explaining why the other side is wrong, and I don't even know how to begin to unpack that. But you know, there's that stuff too. For a lot of Kiss fans out there, this is not like really Kiss. Like Kiss has to be Peter Criss, Ace Frehley, Gene Simmons, and Paul Stanley. And if they're not there, then they're not really Kiss. So, you know, and then for a lot of other people, a lot of other Kiss fans are like, yeah, you know, whatever, man. Eric Singer, Tommy Thayer. Tommy Thayer, from what I understand, is a real fucking fanboy. Like he was like a tour manager, and he was in like a tribute or something. Um, like just all this stuff. And like slowly became, you know, slowly ingratiated himself into being the replacement spaceman. You know, that's a thing. Like you hear like Ace's argument is that like they stole the spaceman idea and makeup from me. But the reality is that they paid him for that. He licensed that makeup. And the same thing with Chris. They licensed those makeups. I don't know if they bought them outright, but they licensed that stuff from those guys. Those guys were getting paid, you know, by what they were doing. You know what I mean? And those guys, you know, Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley, they didn't want they wanted the makeup. They didn't want the guys. They had problems with the guys, but they wanted the image, the classic Kiss image. And that like, hey, we have a good working relationship with Tommy Thayer and Eric Singer. Yeah, it's Eric Singer. And they're basically, you know, hired guns who do whatever the fuck we say, and we don't have to deal with the personalities of Ace and Peter, right? You know, in the variety of ways that they have to deal with them. And it's just like, you know, it's like, hey, now we can keep the machine going without having all of the problems. So it's like, I don't know, it's weird, man. I don't fall on either side of that fence. I'm just sort of kind of exploring all of it. You know, it's just kind of interesting to me. And the thing about Kiss, and Kiss is an institution, man. It's an American pop culture institution, you know. And the other thing about Kiss too is that, you know, they are an impactful band. They are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but they're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for all of like the reasons that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame doesn't like take people into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame kind of like had no choice but to eventually induct Kiss because of like the overwhelmingly obvious reasons to put them into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. All of the albums they sold, all of the fans that they have, all of the impact that they had on pop culture. And much like the Ramones, the Kiss is incredibly influential band. Think about all of the fucking musicians that came up in a variety of different like subgenres that were, you know, so many like guitar slingers who just, you know, worshipped, you know, Ace Frehley and what he did and this, that, and the other. So that's interesting too, including Doyle, who, as some of you have said in the comments, yes, Doyle was at the show. It's funny, my friend Ramey, who some of you know, shout out to Ramey, he texted me this picture. He bumped into them on the street and he snapped this very quick picture. I hope, Ramey, I hope you don't mind if I share this picture. I just thought it was great. He snapped a picture of them walking away on the street. They were in a crosswalk leaving Madison Square Garden. And then Doyle posted the photo. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. So to say all of that random, I don't know, that was like such an unfocused mishmash of thoughts and feelings about Kiss. To say all of that, so that I could now say that my initial feelings about like the way I looked at their final shows and them closing up shop and like thinking about them as kind of like goofy doofuses and this, that, and the other, to say that I feel kind of wrong, like not wrong, but I feel like maybe, yeah, I mean, I feel a little wrong about it, like not like bad wrong, but just like I think I'm wrong in the sense that like I don't understand like how truly awesome it kind of is. Like I was watching the footage and I'm like, wow, this is actually spectacular. Like there is like a sort of a regal majesty to what they do, and the amount of work that they put into their show, the fireworks, the lights, all the gimmicks, it makes sense. It makes sense that they are not playing it live. So initially, and the reason why I'm sort of, I've done like a 180 in the last 24 hours, because initially I made this post. This brings me to this post. I might as well, let's go here now. I made a post here, and Ravner's in the audience. Ravner, are you still here in the audience? Because this is perfect, because I'm going to read what Ravner wrote. They did such a succinct job at explaining this. Here, let's share this post real quick. So this is what Ravner, let me read what Ravner said here, because I thought he did such a great job explaining this. Okay, Ravner's here. So initially I wrote, interesting contrast, the Misfits reunion shows versus the second Kiss farewell tour. Thoughts? I will read and respond on a live stream, as well as share some of my own. So I kind of shared some of my own. And what I was going to really share is that I think it's kind of goofy that, like, not goofy. I'm like, I was just kind of like amazed like that. Like, here's what I'm amazed about. I'm amazed that a band like the Misfits could sell out Madison Square Garden on the same level as a band like Kiss, because you think about Kiss being in such a different stratosphere than what the Misfits are, and we are talking about Hall of Fame rock and roll band that's sold hundreds of millions of albums, right? Versus the Misfits, who are a cult punk band, one of the biggest punk bands, who also managed to do the same thing. And it's just kind of amazing. And, here these guys are playing at the pinnacle. Glenn, Jerry, and Doyle are playing at their absolute pinnacle as musicians, in my opinion, at least. The band has never sounded better. And yet at the same time, when you look at Kiss, they're not playing at their pinnacle. They are, in fact, I would say the weakest element of Kiss is actually probably the music. The fact that, Paul Stanley has essentially lost his singing voice. The fact that they can't really move around. Paul also, after playing in high heels and platforms for years, he's had 2 hip surgeries, right? Like, the fact that he even is up there for 2 hours doing what he does is like incredible. It's honestly, it's fucking amazing. But like, the fact of the matter is he could barely do it anymore. So it's like, the including the singing and playing, and you could see it, and people that are out there, that is, in fact, there's a lot of sad fanboys and non-fanboys who are now going to no longer be able to scrutinize each show that Kiss plays to look and see when they miss their marks and go out of sync when someone doesn't hit their mark or whatever. Gene can barely fucking move in that stuff. I mean, sure, it's 70 pounds and he's 70 years old, but it's just kind of like, I don't know. I just think it's kind of funny. It's like, how are you still doing this? Like, why are you still doing this at this age? And Tommy seems to have Tommy and Ace have like the lightest stuff on. It's Gene who has he has the biggest buildup. But if you look at him without all that armor on, it's amazing how he looks at his age, that he's been able to keep up this sort of persona, despite, even if he doesn't move around that much. But then you look at Glenn, Jerry, and Doyle. I mean, these guys just played in 110 degree heat and gave 150% and like crushed it. I mean, you have like Jerry, who's about 10 years younger, doing crazy power slides, and Doyle is Doyle, and Glenn singing from the top of his lungs. I mean, the cardio that you need to do something like that. My God, my fucking God, you know. So it's kind of interesting. That was really what I was trying to compare and contrast. And ultimately, you can't really compare and contrast these guys. There's nothing. It's apples to oranges. I just thought it was interesting that here are the Misfits. These are the Misfits doing a Misfits reunion sold out at Madison Square Garden, and here is Kiss at what I believe was also sold out. I believe they sold out Madison Square Garden doing their final show, and like, just, I don't know, the differences and the observations, and like where one is again operating at their pinnacle while one is, you know, Kiss, I'm thinking of Kiss, is really not at their peak at all, and in fact should have hung it up 20 years ago, but you know, have soldiered on. And I guess it's kind of it is kind of nice that they ended it in the way that they ended it. And like I said, my mind was changed when I actually watched the footage, and I was like, wow, this is actually like fucking spectacular. Like what Kiss is doing, even if they do all that bullshit gimmicky, whatever, like, you know, fake singing and this, that, and the other, like, it's still pretty amazing. It's still a great show. It's still fucking fun. Here's what Ravner says. Shout out to Ravner. Thoughts on the Misfits reunion versus End of the Road. Most of you did not understand the assignment, by the way. There were a lot of people that were just straight up comparing the bands. That's not like, that is so not what I asked for. But Ravner did a really good job with the assignment. I never saw the Misfits reunion with Glenn, Jerry, and Doyle. I can't speak to that experience. Comparing the two bands, I know the words to every Misfits song through 83. I only know the lyrics to a handful of Kiss songs. That said, I did see the recent Kiss End of the Road show when it came to my town. Night of the concert, I bought a nosebleed for $38. That's what I'm talking. See, that's what I wanted, Ravner. That's what I wanted. I wanted a nosebleed for $38. I would have been there. I would have been there for both nights, maybe. Who knows, man? What was I saying? I actually went as a casual listener, but left with the feeling that I just saw a sensory overload of pop culture explosions, entertainment. Dude, yes, I from the YouTube footage I watched, that's what I had a sense of when I was watching that. And Ravner says, I had a great time. I had an even better time watching the fans go ballistic, watching their favorite group. And I think that is an experience that I would have loved as well. I would have loved to have seen the fans going nuts and just enjoying their favorite band. It's not my favorite band, but it's your favorite band, and you're having a great time, and I'm having a great time because you're having a great time. Like, I so can appreciate that, you know. Was Ace Frehley and Peter Criss there? No, but Robo and Bobby Steele weren't at the Misfits shows either. Does it matter? Only to people who love to complain. Ultimately, it didn't bother the 14,000 other people having a good time. And that's what I ultimately have come to realize. No Kiss fan gives a shit about whether Paul Stanley is singing or not. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. They just want to experience their favorite band in the flesh doing the pop culture oversensory explosion that Ravner is talking about. And you know what? That was something that I failed to understand 24 hours ago when I was like eye-rollingly trying to go with my son because I figured he'd get a kick out of it and we just have a fun time. And like, hey, I could say I was at the last Kiss show. You know what I mean? Like, I now see the error of my ways. Kiss fans don't give a shit about, well, some of them do for sure. I'm sure, but like, we know Eddie Trunk does. The desire to hang out and see a show, hearing the hits of your favorite band far outweigh anything else. Sure, man. Sure. I've always felt that there was a similarity between the Kiss Army and the Fiend Club. Yeah. Glenn likely took clues from this business model, as Kiss was literally everywhere in 77, 79. It also should be noted that Gene Simmons and Glenn Danzig are avid fans of comics, of course. They both have effectively exploited that subculture in their retrospective groups and fan clubs. Also true. I mean that in a positive way. Yeah. So in my humble opinion, there's some big parallels with both groups. Rabner, that was an excellent comment. Thank you. That said, one group wants to rock and roll all night, and the other one wants to go out and kill tonight. Good. Yes, yes. Those were great 2 cents there. I really like that. Sean also says here, not a fan of the Kiss songs at all, but I respect what they've done as far as the influence that they've had on rock music. I mean, just about all my favorite artists are Kiss fans. Yeah, and it's so true, man, including members of the Danzig camp, except Glenn. I'm sure Glenn secretly liked Kiss at some point in time. Both bands are big on aesthetics, and the Kiss show looks fun. I can see why people love it. Yeah, it's because it's a spectacle. But to me, nothing is better than Danzig fronted Misfits. So a lot of people are like, yeah, Misfits, I can't stand Kiss, or Misfits are real, Kiss is not. All incredibly valid. Now, Doyle, as some of you mentioned, Doyle was there. Here's what Doyle shared. Let me see if I can share this tab instead. So that's Doyle. Hold on, I'm gonna try not to blast this out. Let me see.
The hottest band in the world, Kiss!
I mean, that's exciting. Like, and then they drop down on that riser. That is exciting. With the pyro and the explosions, how could you not love that? Now, what did you notice? Here's something funny. Here's something funny about this. And we've read a bunch of Doyle interviews. We've heard Doyle's feelings about this stuff. What do you notice about this? Doyle, here is Doyle in the crowd at a concert with his cell phone out, taking a fucking video of the show. Cousin Doyle. Cousin, Doyle, who's like, I like to watch shows with my eyeballs, not through my phone. I just think it's funny that listen, in reality, he stops the video right here, right? He stopped the video he stopped the video right here and, enjoyed the song. He just wanted to record the opening, and I can totally appreciate that. When I personally, when I do take out my cell phone at a show, it is not to record songs per se. It's always to record the stage banter or something like this, some like the opening or something, because it's a memory that I want to have. That's the type of stuff that you want to put on Instagram. Now, what does Doyle say here about Kiss? This is, oh shit. Okay, this is Doyle talking about being at the last Kiss show on his Instagram. Congratulations, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons, on an unreal career. All the sacrifices made to give your amazing show to all your fans for 50 years. The fans will never understand what you gave up in your lives to do that. I applaud you. I speak for all musicians. You taught us all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This was so fun. First time seeing Kiss with makeup. I don't know what Haji Matade means. I wasn't missing this. I owed it to that little kid who won Kiss Alive down at the shore at Seaside Heights, New Jersey in 1976, and would listen and look at that cover and say, I want to be this. I mean, really, a really wonderful, touching sentiment from Doyle, for sure. What he's referring to down at the shore, so what you used to do, I believe it was hoops, or there were basically what you could do is you could play games on the boardwalk and you could win albums, you could win LPs, and that's what they did. They won Queen, they won a bunch of stuff, him and Jerry, and one of those records, I guess, was Kiss Alive, and really sort of influenced him wanting to be a musician. Case in point, Paris Mayhew, another huge Kiss fan who I know was at this show last night as well, from the Cro-Mags. You know what I mean? I mean, these guys grew up on Kiss. It makes sense. Totally makes sense. So what else did people say? Let's see what some other, if there are any other worthy comments here. Actually, there's a lot of comments. I don't know if I want to go through all these. Two really unique and great bands. I mean, you really can't compare and contrast. The point of the assignment was to just sort of compare and contrast them both playing at Madison Square Garden, not them as bands. And so I think too many people misunderstood the assignment to really weigh in on this properly. So I probably won't. So I guess there's really no point in doing that. Here's another one. This was here. Yeah, this is where I learned that the tickets were cheap, and I was like, man, I should try and get my son here. I was looking. I mean, they were 100. Look, it was 187 for this nosebleed on the side of the stage. I wasn't going to pay for two of those tickets. I just couldn't. I couldn't do it. It would have been crazy. Wouldn't have been worth it. Still though, I was kind of like, well, what is it like? What are we seeing here? And so here is Kiss, End of the Road. Here is what it here's what it looks like. Here is the Love Gun segment. I'm gonna share this. Hopefully you can see this. In fact, before we do that real quick, actually, let me take care of something. So we're changing things up here at riotstickers.com with our riotstickers.com sponsorship. We have a slightly modified deal that I haven't had a chance to fix yet. The Riot Fest deal that we normally do for $79 is going to be altered, and it's going to be slightly different. I'm just realizing now, maybe I shouldn't reveal what it is yet until, you know what, I'm actually going to hold off on that. You should just order stickers from Riot Stickers. They are the sponsor here at the Frumess channel. We love Riot Stickers. We're going to do a truncated sponsorship thing because, like I said, our sponsorship is changing for the better. We are changing things up with Riot Stickers. There's a new deal that is coming. It's a great deal. More on that soon. Riotstickers.com.
Posters and promo cards, there's nothing we can't print for you. From stage backdrops to bass drum heads, we can print on shirts, we can print on hats, we can print on pants. Cheap prices and high quality, quick turnaround times and free shipping. We also offer free artwork support, great customer service, and so much more. We are the bomb. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb. Riotstickers.com. Riot Stickers, we are the bomb.
Now, you know, one thing that we have taken a look at here in regards to Kiss is we've looked at some footage when they didn't have their masks on in the 80s, when they were unmasked. And I got to tell you something, man, did they put 180% to their show. I mean, look, all the shows are 180% in terms of like all the intricate in terms of all of the stuff that they do in their shows. But, man, they used to fucking rock hard in the 80s. That's all I gotta say. They really did. Without that makeup on, they were trying to like overcompensate or something. But I was watching this today, and I like kind of changed my mind about how I felt about, you know, I don't know, about Kiss and all this stuff. I don't know how else to say it really. This is the final Love Gun. Look at him. He goes out on this thing. How awesome is that, dude? That's why they're still doing this at 70 years old. Because who wants to give that up? Like, who wants to give that up? Nobody. what kind of fucking high do you get from declining across the crowd? I mean, the fact that he's doing that 70 years old, 70 plus years old, that's insane. Without a safety net or anything. I can totally it's insane. Look, that's all he does. That's all he can do. Does this little dance stuff on, that's it. But again, like 50 years of doing this. He's not even playing. He's not playing the guitar at all. I love this song. This song fucking rocks, dude. Look at that, man. How could you get that up? Look at that show. Look at that show. I mean, that is live entertainment at its best. I just love how he's just like kind of like almost playing guitar, but not really. Like he's not. What the what? He's doing the Jerry only one-handed bass thing. Look at him. He's having the ball, man. I really do. I appreciate it, man. Like doesn't even trying to pretend to take it. He's like, I don't even give a shit. I'm just gonna raise the guitar above my head. Look. You know what? God bless the Paul Stanley. That's awesome, man. Look at him, dude. I love that. I really do. So it's like seeing this and going like, it doesn't matter if they're playing or not playing. You know, this is a fucking spectacular. I love this part. It's great, man. He literally, yeah, it looks like it's totally sold out. I mean, what a moment of immortality, right? Like, assuming that this is the last time that they do it, and I'm sure that it is. I really do. I think it's the last. They're done. But he is not playing. He's not. Dean looks like he's actually playing. I don't know. And Tommy looks like he's certainly playing. Or like it's just, I don't know. It's all who. What's the deal? What is the deal? I feel like Tommy Thayer is a yes man. Like he's just there. He is there to do whatever they say. He is the perfect employee for Gene and Paul. And obviously, we've covered the beef between Gene and Paul. Look at it. Look at that. That's you know what? Like he deserves it, man. Like they deserve that. You know. God bless. Could you imagine all the emotions going through your head? It's something that you do. You've been doing that for 50 years, man. 50 fucking years he's been doing that. This is the last time he's doing it. That's a strange look at that. It's wonderful, man. I wonder if they're running shared. Does anybody know, were there any moments where like Paul and Gene like turned, because they were in a band called Wicked Lester, like they go back even before Kiss, like their relationship is more like, it's more like 55 years. It's longer. It's longer than, I think they started making music in like 68 or something. So they really, really, really go back. Like that's got to be emotional, even if you hate each other. I mean, they have a bond and a partnership that just runs so incredibly deep. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's
We got a question. We got a question for you people.
There's a great compilation where someone just took all of his banter and like just stitched it together. So it's like 90 minutes of Paul Stanley being like, "Hey, do you want to rock and roll all night and party every day?" It's really great. Look at him. Look at his strut.
Can I stay out here a little while?
Yes, you've earned it. You've earned it. Okay.
Question number 2.
How many microphones?
Can you sing with us? Awesome. This one. You should know this one.
He's got 4
This was the biggest
microphones.
hit we had around the world.
He's got 4 microphones in all sides of the stage. Another band that has like a really like customized like insane live show setup is Metallica. And you know what's funny? I don't think Metallica will ever hang it up. I think Metallica will be Metallica as long as I was going to say, so okay, here's an interesting question. I know even less about Metallica than I do about Kiss. How about that? If James were to leave the band or pass away, unfortunately, suddenly, God forbid, knock on wood, pass away, him or Lars, would the band continue? I think if something happened to Kirk, Metallica would continue to be Metallica because they were Metallica. But if Lars, and maybe even if something happened to Lars, I don't know, some like hardcore Metallica fan. I wish Joe would know. Actually, Joe would tell me if I think if something happened to Lars, they could still maybe even go on. Maybe they would want to go on. Maybe Lars would want them to go on. He wouldn't want Metallica to end. Lars and Kirk with Rob on bass, that they could go on. But if something happened to James, that would be that would be it, that they could not. So is James like the one, is James the irreplaceable member of Metallica? I don't know. Someone might say, "Hey, Jeff, you have no idea what you're talking about. Like they are nothing without the signature Kirk guitar licks, riffs and whatnot. Like you can't go on being Metallica without that." We know that they could be Metallica without Rob because they were Metallica for 30 years or more, 20 years without Rob Trujillo in the band, right? But could they go on without James? No. Could they go on without Lars? I mean, that's like the sad truth about like drummers, though. I don't know. It's weird. That's not the right thing to say, because there's some drummers that are like, look at Keith Moon. The Who tried to be the Who without Keith Moon and they failed miserably. Look at Led Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin could not be Led Zeppelin without John Bonham. They did they kind of were themselves with Jason Bonham, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't exactly the same. Although those reunion concerts were well received. If I'll tell you one thing, I hate to say it, but it's true. This is sacrilege to say, but if Ringo had died and not John Lennon, I'm sure that the Beatles would have reunited as the Beatles without him. That they would have 100%. They would have. They were the Beatles before Ringo, and they could have been the Beatles again without him. I mean, and I am an avid Ringo fan, and I will defend Ringo to the ends of the earth. But I mean, I'm like looking at the brass tacks, and that's what they would do. Would Metallica do the same with Lars? Could Metallica? And that's the thing. Like, I don't, if like, let's say that nothing happens to either one of them, or until something happens to either one of them, I think Metallica will go on for the next however many years. Maybe the next. When Metallica's in their mid 50s, I think Metallica could easily have another 20 years. in them. If they wanted to, yeah, there's another 20 years of Metallica for sure. For sure. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Like they're never gonna stop. But they have a very intricate stage show like Kiss does here. You know, they have like the rotating thing, rotating concert stage, whatnot.
For loving you. 1, 2, 3.
How long does he stay on this stage for? I mean, that's the problem. I like literally don't even know. I don't know half of Kiss's songbook. I just don't know enough of it. Like I would be bored out of my mind for half of these songs, like even with all the pyro and stuff, because I just wouldn't know I just wouldn't know it. I just wouldn't know. Okay, Dagger is saying that the guys in Metallica are like 60. Still, I still think that if they're in good condition, nothing bad happens to them. I do think they have another 20 years left. But Dagger, here's the more important question: is would they continue without Lars? Would they continue without Lars? That's what I want to know. If something happened to Lars, that's the interesting question. James of Metallica is a year older than Doyle. Okay, that sort of that's that. There you go. Yeah, I would just be bored of it. This doesn't interest me. Here, let's go to the actual. Here's the full show. Okay, this is the full live show. There it is. That's the full show. No, this is rock and roll all night. I'm sorry, but this is cool. This is them playing rock and roll all night. I mean, it sounds like Dean is sitting there, and he sounds good, man. Can't be denied. Sounds good. Look, and Rob up there. He move around on stage. It also very that's really putting out there and great. Now look at these things over here. There. Things happen. Like I get to be probably the biggest. Like I get to get away. I mean, this is incredible. Here's the thing. All of this stuff takes an incredible amount of coordination. See that? He looks like he's in pain right there. Look at his face grimace. Look at this. Gotta do this whole thing. Gotta make it up. That's so great. How cool is it? Part of the show where we go around and stop all absolute everybody, now this thing. Can you imagine all? Oh. It's barely like popped up. What do you remember? point here. I'll say I don't think any band has stayed as big for as long as Kiss. You might be right about that. Think about that. 50 years of Kiss, and Kiss have been relevant in, they've had some dips where they were kind of like whatever, but I would say they have sort of held on to the persona that they have right now. They've held on to this like since Ace and Peter left the band the last time. They've really held stayed as big. And Dagger, you're right. Rolling Stones and Metallica too. Metallica as well, and Red Hot Chili Peppers. That's not true. There's a bunch of them. There's a few. Although Red Hot Chili Peppers are not 50 years going, but the Rolling Stones for sure are. For sure. Stones and Kiss, man. And Kiss just bowed out. Man, the fact that the Stones are still the Stones the Stones just released new. I mean, you could say Paul McCartney, Bob Dylan, Neil Young, although I feel like Neil Young and Bob Dylan are not really in like the spot. Paul McCartney probably stands out amongst everybody. Think about that. Apart from the Stones, Paul McCartney is as big and in the spotlight for as long as he's been since 1962. Like, that is fucking incredible. Really, truly. Yes, the Stones do have Kiss by 10 years, and they are touring. They do not fucking stop. They do not stop. And the fact that fucking Jagger and Richards are still together, still writing songs, man, that's crazy, man. That really is crazy when you think about it. Look where they are now. They're in like the air. Look at that. People are like, why don't they hang it up? Why are they still doing it? Because of this, motherfuckers. Because they're doing this shit. This is it's funny. Gene is even though we all know Gene has other addictions and vices, if you know what I mean. Gene has always very famously said, I don't drink, I never drank, I never took drugs. I always love that about Gene. I am a sober person as well. In fact, it's my sobriety anniversary is today, actually. Just mentioning that because I mentioned that. But the funny thing is that like this is the drug that Gene has been a fucking hardcore addict of for how fucking long. The admiration of live performance is the type of adrenaline soaked intoxication that how could they give it up 20 years ago? Of course they weren't. They're fucking panned out. All eyes are on them. That's fun. That is fun. I'm gonna love it. And to think that they ship all of this stuff. This is all of their stuff. Look at that. I mean, you have to think about all of the coordination, all of Thank you. That is totally it's all playing it all, man. You look very active. The dude has every right to like so. That's the last number, was it? So, and in fact, if they were smart, they probably if they were smart, they probably would have recorded this whole thing. You know, every once in a while they do Kiss Alive. They've done a whole series. They've done 4 of them. The last Kiss Alive should be the final show, and it should be like Kiss Alive, Dead, Kiss Dead Alive, and then Jerry only could sue them. Oh, guys, it's Angus's birthday, man. Angus, happy 60th birthday to you. Happy birthday, Angus. Hope it was a good one. So the band finish, right? They finished performing. Let's take a look. So this is the final bow, right? The final bow, wow, wow. Here's Kiss taking their final bow at Madison Square Garden. I mean, that's cool. And you can really see how much they love their fucking fans. They really do. Even from up here and like looking down, like you can't really get a good sense of their faces. A little bit. Look at them throwing stuff out, waving. You know, yeah. Man, I bet they kept that for real nice. 30. They'll probably those costumes will probably go in hard next day at some point. But you know, they're gonna have a Christmas in the clips, and they'll have all these costumes on stage. Look at that. Look at these two guys, 50 fucking years together. Paul's upset with Gene for doing that. Look at these two dudes, fucking 50 years together. We covered that really great video of them in the fight. Great. Look at that. Yeah, like how fake is that though? Like that's just kind of weird. You're just like in shock, emotion. I wonder if we did an interview right when they walked off stage. I would have liked to see it. 50 fucking years. Half a century like we do that. I mean, unreal. Unfucking real. Value. So like I saw all this and I like totally like switched my tune. I was like goofing on this and then I was like, this is pretty cool, man. This is awesome.
New York! Would you do us the final honor? We want to take a photo of you and us at the end of the road.
Yeah, that's cool. Look at that. That's nice. That's a framed photo that you need, right?
What can I ask you something?
He doesn't want to get off stage.
You don't want to go home yet, do you?
I don't think he wants to go home. This is kind of sweet.
Can we play a couple more for you?
Oh, okay. They did an encore. Is that what happened?
All right.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Thank you, each and every one of you. It doesn't matter if this is your first Kiss show or your 101st Kiss show. You are the Kiss Army. You made us possible, and we will always remember and love you.
You can hear how emotional it was. I mean, they love their fucking fans. They do. They always talk about how much
Here's a
they love
song that asks the question from.
You know, Optimum Fiber.
Ah, stupid ad. Oh, is that not the worst? Here, let me let this ad play out. Damn, I hate that. Billy here, Billy Brown Dog 66 says, would have loved to have seen what Dimebag would have done during this, if anything, how he would promote the show in the makeup himself because he loved Kiss so much. Oh, okay, so Dimebag Gerald was a Kiss fan. Interesting. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, that was the end of it. And then this happened. All right, so here's what happens at the end of the show. We're not done. There's one last component to this whole appraisal, I guess. So overwhelmingly, Kiss do an incredible job of like swan. They leave with an incredible swan song, right? Like they do boom. They finish off the right kind of way. And then this happens, and and it's so, to me, I think this is so incredibly Kiss. Like this is, it's kind of funny. Like this is the perfect like afterword. This is the perfect punctuation at the end of the Kiss sentence, because this is something that they would fucking do. The show ends, or after the show, or immediately after the show ends, Kiss make this announcement right here. I don't know if you guys heard about this. Kiss announced that they will rock forever by performing as digital avatars. Is that not the most Kiss thing that you could ever imagine? During the final Kiss show of their farewell tour last night at Madison Square Garden, the band made a big reveal during the encore. From here on out, Kiss will perform as digital avatars. Oh my God. Now this is fucking goofy. Super-powered digital versions of the band appeared on the screen to perform their version of God Gave Rock and Roll to You from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey soundtrack. Watch it happen below. The avatars were created through a partnership with the Swedish entertainment company Pop House Entertainment Group, and created by the George Lucas founded company Industrial Light and Magic. In a short video below, you can see the members of Kiss hooked up to the motion capture technology that helped inform their avatars. Pop House also worked with ABBA on their recent live shows. We can't be young forever. We can be forever young and forever iconic by taking us to places we've never dreamed before, Gene Simmons said in a press release announcing the new project. The technology is going to make Paul jump higher than he's ever gone before. Paul Stanley adds, "What we've accomplished has been amazing, but it's not enough. The band deserves to live on because the band is bigger than we are." There are some unanswered questions. Will founding members Peter, Chris, and Ace Frehley live on as avatars, or just the Catman and Starchild characters? I think you mean, yeah, Starchild, right? No, not Starchild, Spaceman, Space Ace, not Paul Stanley's the Starchild. Arguably more crucially, will the digital Paul Stanley still engage the crowd with questions like, "We got any people here tonight that are high?" Will he scream the name of the city multiple times? New York! Will he encourage the crowd to scream the words "hotter than hell" and "cold gin"? Pitchfork has reached out to Pop House for comment. So here's the video. Here, I'm going to play. So this is the video. Kiss, a new era begins. I mean, this is so unbelievably Kiss. What this is. This is so ridiculous, man. Ready?
Kiss Army! Your love,
Look at this shit.
your power has made us.
I'm going to mute this actually because I don't know what it's going to do. Look, they've been immortalized. They hooked them up to these, motion capture suits, and they've just done this incredibly goofy thing. Now, here's what's interesting. I guess, 30 years from now, when these guys are all dead and gone, there's going to be Kiss fans that will watch this and be like, "This is great," and like, "Wow, this is so cool," like on some level. But like, right now, this is goofy. I mean, this is just so ridiculous. I can't believe they did this. And again, Kiss were always about doing something like cutting edge or trying to blaze trails, like when they took their blood and poured it into the red ink for comic books. You know what I mean? Like this is on brand for Kiss, like bottom line. But I don't know. It's really goofy, man. Like, could you imagine? And, obviously they're like, "We're too old. We are going to do this. So that way we can still make money off of touring revenue without having to actually go on tour." It's sort of like it's great sort of retirement plan. Right. But I don't know. It's just, I can't, I'm kind of speechless, man. I mean, this is really, here's the thing. if ever there was a band to do it, it would be Kiss. Again, entertainment, not music. This is entertainment. And so I guess this is on brand for Kiss. Like, what else would you expect from Kiss, right? That's the truth. That's the honest truth. Now, here's the missed opportunity, in my opinion, personally. Here's where I think they had a missed opportunity. The missed opportunity would have been for them to have, that's the beginning. The missed opportunity would be for them to have done a syndicated, and listen, we know that Gene Simmons is no stranger to reality TV. Like, he's very familiar with reality TV. He had a reality TV show for how fucking long. Why wouldn't they now launch, multiple seasons of a reality TV show? Ready? Here's my reality TV show. This is what Kiss should have done. Instead of doing these digital avatars, they could have had a American Idol style search to do the next generation of Kiss. If you're already going to do like this digital bullshit, why not get actual real people vetted and trained and ordained by the actual members of Kiss? I'm sure the Kiss Army would embrace and accept that. If you got 4 new guys to go out as Kiss, because Kiss is going to do this no matter what. So it's like, why not just get 4 people chosen by the members of Kiss? And then if you're really smart, you let fucking Peter, Chris, and Ace Frehley, then they could come back and they're all sitting there on their fucking little panel in their big plushy chairs, judging people, and the people have to, it's like an elimination competition. And there's 4 seasons, 1 season for each member of the band, and they have to do the search. And every time they get a new member of the band, once they've recruited a new member of the band, like they start with the Gene search, then they do the Paul search, then they do the, whatever I guess it'll be the Tommy Thayer search or the Ace search, whatever you want to call it, the Spaceman search, and then the Cat search, right? You let that new member, whoever the replacement member, they're a part of the judgment panel. And then that band goes out as Kiss. And I guarantee you, every single fucking Kiss fan that fucking loves Kiss or who doesn't give a shit that Paul Stanley, that Paul Stanley isn't singing or whatever, like those fans who don't give a shit, they would fucking embrace it. They would embrace it. They would be all about it. They get 5 seasons of a fucking reality TV show. They'd still be in the spotlight. They'd still be super relevant. And it would actually be kind of interesting, even though it would also be ridiculously goofy. And ultimately, Ravner is right. Ravner says, I'll tell you why Paul and Gene don't have to pay robots. That's the ultimate truth. Jody's asking me, what is my favorite makeup style in Kiss, Jeff? No one's ever asked me that. I seriously, I don't think I've ever thought about that. I don't have an answer for you. I legitimately do not have an answer. I don't know what my favorite makeup would be, because like, that's how little I think about Kiss. Like I said, when I watch a video of Kiss, when I watch Detroit Rock City, I'm like, yeah, it's Kiss, whatever. I'm not sitting that, like, I've never even considered that. I guess I like the Demon makeup the best. If I have to pick the Demon makeup or the Space Ace makeup, I like those 2 makeups the best. But that's literally the first time I've thought about it. I've never, ever, 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 ever entertained that idea. It's funny. That's so funny. Yeah, it would probably be Gene's and then Ace's makeup. So that'd be interesting. So ultimately, the Ravner's right. The reason is they don't have to pay robots. There's like, once all the infrastructure is in place, sure, there will be overhead, but they do not have to pay performers, and they can still sell their merchandise on the road. They basically can now continue to tour without actually having to tour, which is kind of what the Beatles initially wanted to do with Sgt. Pepper and what Elvis did with his gold Cadillac. you know, what the whole purpose of the promotional videos for the Beatles as well. So they didn't have to go to all the studios. That was the creation of the music video. Music videos were literally created because the Beatles, it was too complicated for the Beatles to get into a studio and perform live when promoting a new record or album. Let's make a promotional film and we'll send it around to all the TV shows and they can just play the same thing over and over and it'll promote the thing. This really is nothing more than an extension of that concept. However, it falls into that weird place that we're at now with AI and computer technology where you can scan somebody's essence into a machine and sort of, you know, manipulate it like a puppet, whether it's sanctioned or not. And that's weird. And I don't know. I don't know where we're going to be with all that. But yeah, I don't know. Who knows how that's going to be ultimately received by the fans? Will it be, you know, things have blown up in Kiss's face. They did that album, that concept album called The Elder, which shout out to John of Doom if he watches this. I know he loves The Elder. But The Elder was like a thing that was sort of panned by Kiss fans in general. I think that was the last thing that Ace did when he was in the band. Let me see if I can find, what are they open with? Not Detroit Rock City. Yeah, Detroit Rock City. Kiss. Oh shit, the keyboard's not working. Hold on. Kiss, Detroit Rock City, last show. Let's close the show out with this. Let me see that. No, not the last Kiss. Kiss, Detroit Rock City, last show. That's from the end of the movie Detroit Rock City. Why is this giving me so many problems here? Wow, this was on my birthday, huh? I guess that's good enough if we can't find here. Kiss, Detroit Rock City, last show. So this is the intro and first song. So I guess let's close out with this because this is like this is what they were known for, and this is the last time they would ever do it. It's pretty fucking cool. It's pretty rad to see, right? I mean, this is what I would have wanted to see had I gone. The majority of people can't handle Tommy and Eric in the makeup, so I'm not sure how replacing all four members would fly. But I agree. Listen, I agree with what you're saying, but I think that if everybody was being replaced and it was sort of like, hey, this is how we're continuing Kiss, and this is something that we would do. This is something that Paul and Gene would do. They would be like, let's make Kiss 2.0. Devo tried to do that and it failed miserably. But, you know, the reason why I think Kiss would succeed where Devo failed is because Kiss is Kiss. Like, Kiss doesn't even have to play their own fucking instruments and people are going to fucking love it, you know? Kevin's jumping in, he's catching up, and he says they're really playing, but there's also additional guitar in the backing tracks. Kevin is a musician, he would know better than me. Bingo, the band. Bingo, this is a band sanctioned laser light show with an AI twist. Yeah. All right, let's play out with this. We'll just kind of watch and do a little commentary of the final Detroit Rock City. I mean, this is spectacular, man. Hopefully this is a good view. Looks like it might be. I still can't get over that Doyle was taking video in a concert when he gives people so much shit for doing that. Come on, Doyle. Come on, practice what you preach, buddy. All right, here it is. We should have opened the show with this, but we're closing it with this instead. I mean, how exciting. That's cool.
You are the best. You got the best.
Wait, where is this position? I think this is a terrible angle. This is not a good angle. I think it's tied. Oh, that's so fucking lame. Damn. I think that's so very exciting. Look, he's got a fucking rod going up his butt. Like, they all do. I mean, listen, hey, safety first, man. Like, I get it. But, like, it's just, I don't know. I think it's just kind of funny that, I don't know. Hold on, let me see if I can find a better angle because this is a terrible fucking angle of this. This is not cool. Is this the beginning right here? Oh, here it is. Okay, I got it. This is better. Let's watch this one instead. It's a little grainy. Oh, baby, we got it in 4K. All right, ready? Let's watch this one instead. Nice. All right. That bullshit. Come on. Here.
You are the best. You got the best. The hottest band in the world.
That's cool. Wow, this is a great angle. This guy recorded the whole show. Oh my, fuck you, dude. Oh, does that suck? Hold on. Oh, is that just, that is so, I hate that, man. I hate it when that happens. Oh, is that annoying? All right, let's do that again, shall we? Let's just take that back. All right, hold on. Oh my God. Well, I'm starting this over. Start this over. Ready? Here we go. No, we want the full. Look, that's them walking to the to get ready. That's cool. Shows them. There's a camera that follows them. I would have had so much.
All right, New York. You are the best. You got the best. The hottest band in the world.
I'm so happy. Look at that. That's exciting. Come down on these little risers. Man, can you imagine all the time it takes to set up? I mean, what kind of money are they making? They're obviously making money. Think about how much money it costs. You know what's so interesting to me? This show, with all these watching up front, everybody's standing and watching it. Nobody mocks it. It's like rock, metal, and hey, aren't they terrified of those things above them? That's very great. Whoever recorded this, good job. I like the way Eric Carr's microphone has like that was no offense to Tommy Thayer, but like he's not like he's a guy, right? Oscar in the face. Yell at him? What, do you yell at him a little bit? Look at being early with Tommy. That scene right there. It's like pointing at him. It's out of he's a little bit more oh, because they have to do this. They're gonna do the thing. Thing. This is cool. Eric Carr looks like a rudiment. No song. Paul not play Yeah. Okay. He did it again. What's up with that? Gene's doing his rock and roll all night. Wait, you notice that though? Hold on a second. What is I would pay $1 million to know what he's saying. Love that. I'm telling you, man, like Paul Stanley, all he does is dance to little couple of notes. That's the most hard Paul Stanley does. Yeah, he is playing. This is like now I have to know what to do. Anybody know what to do with Tommy Thayer? Like for who's Tommy most cleaner Paul? Did it again! Did it again! That's 3 times he did it for him. Yeah, I think you the 3 things. On the big TV, it looks cool, but in the slide, I'm hugging. Oh, it's bad. That's sweet. Probably very emotional. Oof. Does anybody fucking know what the deal is with Tommy Thayer and fucking Gene Simmons? I'm curious. Like maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe it's nothing. Jody Ramone says, wonder if Kiss has made the most revenue strictly from merchandise. That's probably where the money that's probably their bread and butter, right? Billy says, I'm not a big Kiss fan, but love good audio, and the mix on smashes, thrashes, and hits is so good. You just don't turn it off. It's mixed perfect. Try it sometime for the vibe of it. It's perfect. Okay. Listen, I'm open. I'm open to it. I'm going to wrap up in 1 second. I just want to see, is anybody going to fucking tell me what, I mean, maybe I should just search for it. Let's just search and see if there's any sort of beef. Tommy Thayer, Gene Simmons, strain. Let's see if there's anything. The strain was evident on some notes. No, that's not what that is. Co-founder was able to tell Simmons bandmates about the night. No. Oh, here's something that's interesting. Wow. All right. Maybe we need to read one more thing before we leave, because I'm not going to do a whole separate show on this. Huh. Livewire Kiss guitarist Paul Stanley admits to, hold on a second. Hold the phone. All right. This is an opinion piece from Ultimate Guitar. And basically what it's saying is, opinion, makeups and breakups. Tommy Thayer saved Kiss, and here is how he did that. This is from Andrew Daly, and it's from September 8th, 2022 on ultimateguitar.com. What if I was to tell you that if not for Tommy Thayer, Kiss would no longer exist? Well, technically, Kiss no longer exists as of right now, right? The reunion era doesn't happen, at least not as it did. Would you believe me? Okay, the reunion era, I guess, is from 1996 onward when Ace and Peter come back. If not, you should. Thayer's close relationship with Kiss dates back to 1985 when Black and Blue hit the road with Kiss on their Asylum tour in support of its Without Love record. While Black and Blue's label Geffen Records may have engineered the initial pairing, Thayer forged the relationship, a relationship that would last 37 years in running. My exact date, well, now 38 years in young and running. Mike says it's just Tommy was singing backup, sharing Gene's mic, nothing more than that. All right, fair enough. Eric Singer is on drums, Jody Ramone. In the wake of Black and Blue's dissolution in 1989, Thayer was called in to provide additional guitars on Hot in the Shades, Cuts, Betrayed, The Street Giveth, and The Street Taketh Away. This would be the beginning of Thayer's Kiss Odyssey, but it would be far from the end. Now that you've got the backstory, we can now fast forward to 1996. Kiss fans will remember the scene well. In the wake of 1995's MTV Unplugged, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons jettisoned Eric Singer and Bruce Kulick in favor of founding members Peter Criss and Ace Frehley, assisting the Catman. Of course, there were problems, namely in the years since his dismissal, Peter Criss's skills have severely deteriorated. This was a problem, as Kiss had just let an energetic and technically sound player in Eric Singer go, with the world watching, allowing Criss to take the stage in the advanced state of drum atrophy that he was in was not an option. Things were so bad that session man Kevin Valentine was brought in to reteach Peter his parts, with Valentine even being considered to play beneath the stage while Criss pretended to play from above. How humiliating. Is this fucking for real? While the sessions with Valentine proved fruitless, Thayer, a guitarist, was brought in to assist Criss in getting back to basics and relearning his parts. Wow. By this point, Thayer had taken on an all-purpose role with Kiss, doing everything needed to keep the Kiss machine running smoothly. In this instance, Thayer, a diehard Kiss fan and former member of premier tribute band Cold Gin. So he was in a tribute band for Kiss. He's a diehard fan. He opened for Kiss on a tour, and he played on some session tracks. I mean, this is the guy, right? Over time, with Thayer's coaching, Criss was able to recapture at least some of his former glory and play an adequate level on the Kiss reunion tour. Without Tommy Thayer, Kevin Valentine plays drums under the stage, with Criss smiling and waving if Kiss keeps him around at all. That is fucking insane to me. That is insane to me. What's up? We got Tabletop Bob's in the house. He says, this is old news, right? The original lineup did not join at Madison Square Garden. I'm just coming into this. Apologies if I'm missing the beginning of the article. Well, this is about why Tommy Thayer is so important to Kiss, the reunion era of Kiss, right? And Jody Ramone here says, Tabletop, yes, the band played their final show last night at Madison Square Garden, right? That's very interesting. So a spaceman prepares for takeoff. Man, this could be its own documentary. I would watch the shit out of this. It soon became apparent that Peter Criss wasn't the only one who needed help. Ace Frehley's substance abuse issues through the 70s, 80s, and 90s have been well documented. And if any fans think that Frehley came into the reunion clean and sober, they are sadly mistaken. Frehley has been clean since 2006, but in 1996, his various addictions were a genuine issue for Kiss. Sure, Frehley could still play, but his substance abuse left him sloppy and unable to recall many of the parts that he had written. While Frehley was nowhere near as far gone as Chris, he certainly was going to need help to reclaim his mojo. Who do you think Stanley and Simmons called to assist the spaceman? If you guess Tommy Thayer, then it looks like you're finally beginning to catch on. So Tommy Thayer ends up becoming a glue. Wow, this is changing my whole opinion of Tommy Thayer. It's blowing my mind. It's absolutely blowing my mind. Thayer worked tirelessly with Frehley to assist him in remembering the way he had both written and played his original Kiss parts. More so, he worked with the band as a whole to recapture the way they played their older material in the Alive era. The results were staggering, and to Frehley's credit, he played wonderfully during the reunion era, and despite his issues with some guidance from Thayer, his talent took over. So really, if this is to be believed, it sounds like Ace actually owes a great debt of gratitude, or should be indebted to Thayer for what he did in helping to bring the original band. And Thayer, who probably wanted to be Ace the whole fucking time, is like, I'm such a fucking fan that like, I'm going to put all my ambitions aside. He was probably so thirsty for that spot and just waiting for something. Who knows, man. It just sounds like Thayer is just a fucking diehard fan who just had his dream come true. I can really appreciate that, and I actually have a newfound respect for Thayer. See, my opinion is being changed all the time during this show that we are doing tonight. That is really interesting. So despite some issues with some guidance from Thayer, his talent took over. While he couldn't help Frehley from a personal standpoint or make him any less volatile, Thayer took Spaceman from a liability on stage to an asset. And of course he was an asset because they were making millions of dollars on having that original lineup, right? Psycho Circus. Okay, so this I do know. Psycho Circus was a huge snafu. It's the last time that the original lineup of Kiss would ever record together. They only are all featured on one track, if I recall, and the rest are session musicians. Maybe even Thayer is playing. I don't know. From a financial standpoint, Kiss's reunion tour was one of, if not the biggest concert draws of 96 to 97. And by all accounts, the vibe was great to start. But reportedly, by the end of the jaunt, old habits and grievances began to seep in, and the seeds of discord were then sown. Despite this, Simmons and Stanley decided to carry on with Chris and Frehley, and announced that the foursome would cut a record, Kiss's first with all four original members since the late 70s. Alas, as the sessions began, everything, and I mean everything, fell apart. Both Chris and Frehley demanded more money and more credit. They wanted a more significant piece of the pie, half to be exact. Now, I just want to jump in real quick because I do know this is where I can interject. They came back as hired guns. That's what happened. They left the band. Gene and Paul owned the band outright because those guys left the band. And when they came back and they were getting paid per show. Frehley was getting more money than Peter was. Peter didn't know that Ace was getting more money than Peter, and he was fucking pissed later when he found out about it. But the two of them were sowing dissent in each other because they were resentful of the fact that, Gene and Paul had just continued on with the band, and they had busted and scraped and gotten to a place where Kiss was what it was. It was an institution, continued to be an institution, but it didn't continue to be an institution just because of Ace and Peter, who were always fan favorites, man. That I know. I mean, everybody loves Beth. And I think Paul Stanley was kind of a hater, right? He was a bit of a hater on Peter for, always trying to diminish his credit for writing Beth, saying that he had a ghostwriter for Beth, and obviously the resentment towards Ace and his, great guitar playing. It can't be denied that he was an incredible guitar player, right? So that's interesting too. So they wanted half the pie. With an album to record and contractual obligations to meet, Stanley and Simmons were given no choice but to push on, and they did. Thayer would go on to play lead. Okay, so Thayer did get selected. Thayer would go on to play lead guitar on nearly the entirety of Psycho Circus, which I'm sure he did not object to. I'm sure he was very stoked about that. The only exception being Frehley's Into the Void, which was recorded late in the game. Psycho Circus is a polarizing album amongst fans, but there's no denying it's a top-tier classic. The guitar work is sublime and some of the best of Tommy Thayer's career. The album doesn't happen without Thayer, and the reunion era probably comes to a dead stop right then and there, thus ending Kiss. Is this a bold statement? Buckle up. I'm not done. All right, so there's more to it. This is fucking fast. I was not intending for this, but this is fascinating to me. A reunion breeds a sad farewell. History dictates the rest of the reunion story, which only rolled downhill at a disastrous rate from 1998 onward. Psycho Circus's supporting tour was fine at face value, but Chris' physical and mental state was badly deteriorating. As for Frehley, his playing remained first rate, but he appeared disinterested and was increasingly unreliable off stage. Couple that with the duo's volatile nature and daily mood swings. I mean, this is listen, one thing's for certain. The piece we are reading right now has a bias against both Ace and Peter. Okay. And the truth is, like, you know, this fandom and this feud loves to have a villain side and a hero side. And the reality is I don't think any which side is hero or villain. Everybody is, right? Everybody is, and that's what it is, right? So, coupled with the duo's volatile nature and daily mood swings, and Simmons and Stanley had a set of problems, Simmons and Stanley had a set of problems on their hands. Bob says, you can tell how much Gene and Paul hated Peter and Ace. There's a famous interview where Ace can barely speak. He was so off. Right. That's from the Tomorrow Show, I believe. Right, Bob? And that's from the Tomorrow Show in 1981. That was right before Ace left the band. He was like drunk all the time. And he's like giggling incessantly. And Gene is like razor serious and super friggin' annoyed with what's going on. With seemingly no other option, a tired Simmons, this is just like totally like bend. The bend is totally on Simmons and Stanley's side. A tired Simmons and Stanley decided to launch the Kiss Farewell Tour in 2000. So this is really what we're really learning is the history as well of not only just the reunion, but the farewell tour. So they went from reuniting to faring well or fare thee well in 2000. Although before it was sort of retroactively recontextualized as a farewell to the original lineup, which is technically it was. As the tour wore on, interpersonal relationships grew increasingly worse, with Thayer prepared to suit up and take the stage in place of Frehley on a nightly basis. Could you imagine being a ginormous Kiss fan? You are the band's fixer. You are the reason why the reunion shows have gone off. And now Gene and Paul, your two fucking idols, heroes, whatever, they're basically like, you need to be on standby to be the spaceman at any moment if Ace just like loses it. I mean, that's gotta be what a heavy situation, man. What a heavy sort of situation. As the tour wore on, he prepared. Okay, towards the end of the tour, Peter Criss threw a tantrum and quit the band after destroying his drum kit at the end of a show in South Carolina. Why? He found out that Frehley was making more money than him. Remember what I said? Frehley was making like 50 grand per show, and I think Peter was making 30, and he was fucking pissed about that. Ouch. As Kiss fans will remember, the tour limped to the finish line, thus ending the reunion and potentially ending the band. During this period, Thayer showed his mettle and proved a stabilizing force during a depressing era in Kiss history. So if you are a fan of Kiss, and to you, the entire history of Kiss is all valid, like every era of Kiss is valid. You're not just one of those purists who just loves the original lineup of Kiss or whatever. Like you accept every single iteration of Kiss, then this period is friggin' crucial, and Thayer is a savior. If you are a fan of the original lineup, then this is all Drek to you on some level, right? I don't have a horse in this race because I'm not really a Kiss fan. I'm like kind of a casual whatever as I'm discussing this right now. So during this period, Thayer showed his mettle and proved a stabilizing force during a depressing era in Kisstory. I guess that's what Kiss fans call it, is Kisstory, right? With Frehley's commitment wavering and his reliability in question, Thayer presented an alternative for Simmons and Stanley, opening the door for what was to come. Wow, this is absolutely fascinating. Kiss is reborn with Thayer on guitar. These days, Tommy Thayer gets an awful lot of hate for wearing Ace Frehley's spaceman makeup, but I always ask fans what they might have done given the same chance. That's also a good point. Thayer's first official show as Kiss's lead guitarist was in 2003. So he's been in the band for 20 years, and he has maintained the role brilliantly ever since. I don't know if everybody would agree with that, but okay. For those keeping score, Thayer is Kiss's longest-serving lead guitarist in the last 20 years. Kiss has played some of the greatest stages of its career in no small part due to the efforts of Thayer. Okay, I'm going to say something, and it's going to be not controversial, but this is like saying that Dez, love you Dez to no end. This is like saying that Dez is the longest serving guitar player in the Misfits. Like it's just not, you cannot make that sort of statement in that kind of way, right? Like that's a weird thing. That's like a weird sort of thing. Like, sure, the unvolatile, easygoing, Axeman that can just sort of conform to whatever the boss needs. Of course, they're going to be there for 20 drama-free years. But, is that the stuff that everybody, knows the band and loves them for? Like, no, like nobody thinks of The Devil's Rain when they think of the Misfits. They think of, Earth AD and Walk Among Us. Nobody thinks of Monster or Psycho Circus. I think they think of like, those classic records, those, especially in like circa 75 to 79 for Kiss, right? Or like Rob. Yeah, exactly. We were talking about Metallica earlier, Bob. He is beloved, but it's funny. I was saying, just not to rehash everything, but I was saying this earlier. If Lars or James, if Rob left Metallica, or if what's his face? Kirk left Metallica, or even Lars left Metallica, they probably would still go on as Metallica. If James is the irreplaceable linchpin of Metallica. Without James, they cannot be Metallica. I think they would find a way to be Metallica without any one of those guys. But James is like the centerpiece. Right. You think of Dead Alive when you think of the Misfits. Exactly. Precisely. So that's like a weird thing to say, that he's the longest tenured, like, so what? I don't know, man. That's a weird reasoning. I still have great respect for Tommy after reading this, but that's like weird. That's a weird thing to say. If Thayer didn't assume the Spaceman role in 2003, Kiss would have quietly died in the wake of the farewell tour. Instead, that tour was a farewell to Chris and Frehley and the rebirth of Kiss as a viable entity. Right. And that's what Gene and Paul love to, that's how they like the history to be. In the ensuing years, a genuine brotherhood has formed on and off stage. And for those who have witnessed Kiss perform, this lineup's chemistry is undeniable. Sure, he's playing a lot of the licks that Frehley. I think that's one of the big controversies, that Thayer is just aping the stuff that Ace does. But, if you understand the guitar and can differentiate their styles, one can hear Thayer's playing is far different from Frehley's. This is especially apparent if you've seen Frehley live lately. I would also say that Thayer is quite clearly one of his biggest influences, probably Ace. So, of course, their playing is going to have similar DNA. Like, that makes sense. I have all the love in the world for Ace, but his sloppy approach, rings clattering against his guitar strings, and buzzing feedback present as a far cry from Thayer's clean-toned and blue-inspired licks. Frehley has a vibrato unlike any other and a style that has inspired millions, but Thayer is a hero in his own right. And at this juncture, he's playing the Kiss's classic tunes better than Frehley is. Oof. Wow. That is something. Stop hating and start loving Tommy Thayer. I will never understand why so much hate is thrown in the way of the six-string hero that saved Kiss, Tommy Thayer. Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley created Kiss 50 years ago, along with Peter Criss and Ace Frehley. That will always be the band's humble origin story, but that doesn't mean Kiss should be forced to relegate themselves to hell on earth to keep something together that doesn't work. That opens up the conversation about what makes a band and when does a band stop being a band. And in the case of Kiss, they have these masks that they can put on people to try and keep the continuity more seamless, but it still doesn't exclude them from that conversation at all, in the least, right? No, Simmons and Stanley chose an avenue that allowed them to continue the Kiss's legacy and choose a guitarist who could help accomplish that on a personal, creative, and professional level, Tommy Thayer. That doesn't make Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley greedy. It makes them intelligent business people and shows the pride that they harbor for what they've created. I can't deny that either. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, everybody, like, there's no like overwhelmingly right or wrong opinion in this conversation at all. Like, none whatsoever. Like, they're both, it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag. I firmly believe that if any of you were presented with the same choice, you'd have done the same. Probably. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't. Professional, talented, loyal, creative. Yes. Okay. Tommy Thayer is all of these things and more. Wow. This guy loves Tommy Thayer. And you'd think after 20 years of service, the Kiss Army would send some of that love back Thayer's way, right? Wrong. No, it's always the same short-sighted, myopic hate. It's always the same tired diatribe about original members and musical integrity, as if hiding and hating behind a keyboard shows any integrity at all. I mean, but that is, like, it's an eternal debate because musical integrity and original members are so essential to a band being a band, right? Here's the deal, Kiss fans. Tommy Thayer wasn't planning on being in Kiss. That I don't believe. He never asked, and he had no entitlement-based expectations upon entry. That I believe, but I refuse to believe that Tommy Thayer wasn't planning on being Kiss. I'm sure he was circling that spot, and it eventually landed on him, and he was not complaining. I get it, rightfully so. No, he was given the opportunity of a lifetime, and he took it and ran with it. Yeah, God bless. Over 2 decades, Thayer's hard work has kept Kiss's wheels greased. Simmons and Stanley only ever wanted bandmates who would share their commitment to excellence, something Ace couldn't do. I will agree that, apart from like the exploitative nature of Stanley and Simmons and their marketing approach, like they did have a commitment to maybe they didn't have a commitment to necessarily what we would consider excellence, but they had a commitment to like, a certain standard in work ethic, right? That cannot be denied, And what about Ace? Ace walked away from Kiss in 2002, just as he did in 1982. In the ensuing years, he's regretted it. That's obvious on many levels. And if you don't see that, then you're probably not paying attention. You know why I'm not sure that he totally regretted it? Because if he really, truly wanted back in, they would let him in. They would let him in a limited capacity. Ace would be making money on the shows. But the reality is he licensed the makeup to those guys, and he makes money on the side anyway. Ace has been paid well for that makeup, right? For 20 years, Frehley is watched from afar, witnessing Kiss from the ashes to dominate the world again. More so, Ace watched Tommy do all that he used to do and more. I love Ace, but it's painfully apparent that Kiss didn't need him then, and they don't need him now. That I disagree with. I don't think you can say that about Ace. And what his contributions were to the band. And even Paul, you hear it in Paul and Gene interviews all the time, acknowledge Ace's contribution. It's just the fact that they don't want to work with him. Kiss needed Tommy Thayer, and that's why, despite Ace's public calls to rejoin and reclaim his role, he's quietly denied. He's quietly denied. Tommy Thayer has shown loyalty. Yeah, right. We know you love Tommy, and you're just going to keep talking about his loyalty and showmanship and reliability. As such, Kiss's commitment to Tommy Thayer is unwavering. Haters and fair weather fans should take a lesson. Now, what kind of partnership do you think Tommy Thayer? You think he's just still a hired gun? Do you think he has a junior equity in Kiss? Like Paul and Gene are never going to give up their majority stakes in Kiss. But do you think that Tommy has a few points on the back end, that he gets some sort of, what kind of deal he gets? I would imagine something. I mean, that this lineup was together for nearly 20 years. Now on its end of the road world tour, Kiss remains the hottest band in the land and puts on the greatest shows on earth. I don't know about that, but it's definitely a fun, interesting show. Tommy Thayer's presence over the long haul has given Kiss something once thought impossible, the chance to reclaim the lost glory and bow out on their terms. While he's a legend, that's a hell of a lot more than Ace Frehley. Love him as I do, was willing to give. Sorry, I read that really, really, really bad. For those reasons and more, I'd wager that Tommy Thayer saved Kiss. Very interesting hot take. And then we could dive into the comments. I'm not going to. There's just so many. Actually, there's not that many, but I don't know if they're, whatever. Ravner says Tommy Thayer's a well-paid sideman. Billy says, no matter what side you're on, as an artist side of it, Gene and Paul still gave Ace and Peter another opportunity to return. And that's all a true artist is looking for, is nothing more than opportunity. That is, Billy, you are right about that as well. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of the show. Way longer than I intended to have it, but we had to tackle that last piece because I had too many unanswered questions, and now my questions are better answered by reading that about what Tommy's relationship is to those Kiss guys, and it sounds like he's truly is invaluable. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Peace, hair grease. Make sure you check out Riot Stickers. We got another episode of John Christ coming up soon. We got the secret shows coming up soon. I'm working on this feature-length documentary. No, it's not the Misfits thing. It's a different thing. It's going to be on my YouTube channel eventually. I'm trying to see what else I can do with it. If you're a Patreon or a YouTube member, you will be able to watch it soon. It's a deeply personal story to me. It's about my life, trying to make movies and stuff. It tells us a very interesting kind of story from an interesting perspective. You might appreciate it. So, all right. With all that, goodbye. See you next time. Peace, hair grease. Bye-bye.